Long ago, in a kingdom nestled between tall silver mountains and wide green forests, there lived a young princess named Elira. Unlike the other royals in the grand palace, Elira was quiet and thoughtful. While her peers learned courtly dances, adorned themselves with sparkling jewels, and attended endless royal parties, Elira found her joy elsewhere. She preferred wandering through the palace gardens, her ears tuned to the melody of birdsong, her eyes watching the fluffy clouds drift lazily across the vast sky. Many in the kingdom whispered that Elira was too gentle, too soft, to ever rule. After all, the ancient laws of the land were clear: only princes could inherit the throne. Princesses were expected to marry into other kingdoms, leaving the matters of state to someone else. But what no one knew, what lay hidden deep within her, was a secret that no prince in the kingdom possessed: a profound and unwavering love for her people. Every morning, long before the sun even thought about rising, Elira would slip out of the palace through a small, hidden garden gate. Dressed in a simple cloak to hide her identity, she would walk through the awakening streets of her kingdom. She wanted to see life as it truly was, unfiltered by royal ceremony. She watched the bakers kneading dough for warm bread, the fishermen returning with their boats from the dark waters, and the children whose laughter filled the early morning air. She listened to their worries and their dreams, all without them ever knowing she was their princess. One morning, as a golden dawn painted the mountains in soft light, Elira overheard two farmers talking near the marketplace. Their voices were heavy with concern. "The river is drying," one of them said, his brow furrowed with worry. "If it disappears, our crops will die," the other replied, his words echoing the fear in her own heart. A knot of anxiety tightened in Elira's chest. The river was the lifeblood of the kingdom. It had always flowed strong and steady, watering the farms, nourishing the animals, and keeping the entire land lush and alive. How could it suddenly begin to fade away? Determined to find an answer, Elira went to the palace library later that day. It was an enormous hall, filled with towering shelves of ancient books and dusty scrolls. The silence in the library was so complete that even the softest footstep seemed to echo off the tall stone walls. She searched for hours, her fingers tracing the spines of forgotten texts, until she finally found a very old book on the kingdom's history. Inside, she discovered a strange and fascinating story. Long, long ago, the kingdom's river was protected by a magical crystal, hidden deep within the formidable Crystal Mountain. This crystal controlled the flow of water that sustained the land. But the book also contained a chilling warning: if the crystal was ever disturbed, the river would slowly but surely vanish. Elira's heart began to beat faster. Crystal Mountain stood far beyond the kingdom's borders, a treacherous peak covered in snow, with dangerous, sheer cliffs. No one had dared to travel there in many, many years. That evening, the royal court gathered in the grand hall. The king and his advisors discussed the problem of the failing river, but none of them offered a real solution. "We will wait and see," one advisor suggested with a shrug. "Perhaps the river will return on its own," said another, his voice lacking any real conviction. Elira knew that waiting was a death sentence for the kingdom. If the river vanished completely, the farms would turn to dust, the animals would perish, and her people would suffer terribly. That night, as the pale moonlight streamed through her bedroom window, Elira made a decision. If no one else would save the kingdom, then she would. Before the next sunrise, she packed a small bag with bread, water, and a warm cloak. She slipped out of the palace once more, but this time, she didn't turn towards the town. She began the long, arduous journey toward Crystal Mountain. The path through the forest was dark and eerily silent. Tall, ancient trees stretched high above her, their branches whispering secrets in the wind. For a moment, a cold tendril of fear crept into her heart, but then she remembered the farmers' worried voices. That memory gave her the courage to push onward. After 2 long days of travel, the forest finally gave way to the breathtaking sight of Crystal Mountain. Its snowy peaks rose before her like giant white towers, scraping the sky. The climb was more difficult than she could have ever imagined. The wind howled around her like a hungry beast, and the ground was slick and treacherous with ice. More than once, Elira felt the urge to turn back, to return to the safety of the palace. But each time, she firmly reminded herself why she had come. The faces of her people flashed in her mind, and she kept climbing. At last, exhausted but resolute, she reached a hidden cave that glowed with a faint, ethereal blue light. Inside the cave, suspended in the very center, floated the magical crystal from the ancient book. But something was terribly wrong. A web of dark cracks spread across the crystal's brilliant surface, and its blue light flickered weakly, like a dying candle. As Elira stepped closer, a deep, rumbling voice echoed through the cave, shaking the very ground beneath her feet. "Who dares approach the heart of the river?" From the shadows, a huge stone guardian slowly rose, its glowing eyes fixed on her. Elira's hands trembled, but she stood tall, her posture unwavering. "My name is Elira," she said, her voice clear and brave. "I came to save my kingdom." The guardian studied her silently for a long, tense moment. Many kings and warriors have sought this power, the guardian rumbled. They wanted the crystal for themselves, for their own glory. Why should I trust you? Elira thought about the hard-working farmers, the laughing children in the marketplace, and the beautiful, flowing river she loved so much. I don't want the crystal, she said softly, her voice filled with sincerity. I only want the river to live again. For everyone, the cave grew quiet. Then, slowly, the stone guardian stepped aside. Then prove your heart is true, it said. Elira carefully approached the cracked, flickering crystal. Remembering the story she had read, she placed her hands gently on its cool surface and closed her eyes. Instead of trying to command the magic or bend it to her will, she simply wished for the river to flow freely again, for all the people of her kingdom. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the crystal began to glow brighter and brighter until the dark cracks slowly vanished, healing before her eyes. A powerful, brilliant blue light filled the entire cave, pulsating with renewed life. Far away in the kingdom, at that very instant, the river suddenly surged back to life, rushing through the dry land stronger and more vibrant than ever before. The stone guardian smiled, a sight no one had seen for 1,000 years. You have done what no ruler has ever done, it said. You chose your kingdom over power. Days later, when Elira finally returned home, she found the entire kingdom celebrating. The river's miraculous return had brought joy and relief to everyone. It wasn't long before the king discovered the truth about his daughter's brave journey. From that day forward, the old laws of the kingdom were changed forever. No longer would only princes be allowed to rule, because everyone now knew that the bravest, wisest, and most compassionate ruler the kingdom had ever seen was a princess named Elira. And from that day on, she became known throughout the land as the princess who saved the river. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share so you never miss a new magical tale from our little world. Thanks for listening.